Great to have him in, Ryan Veenstra. Ryan, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me in, Gary.
I know you're a big KROS listener, and I appreciate that.
I am, and we used to do the health fair or the plus 50 fair.
That's right.
And the girls were like, when did we get to be on Women's Day? I'm like, it's kind of like a membership to Augusta. You got to be asked. So I'm honored that you asked us to be a part of it this year.
But they are coming in for that Ladies' Day. We're going to have Mary and Jamie both in, so I'm excited to have them in. And just got confirmation the other day from Mercy One. The Plus 50 Living Fair will be Tuesday, April 22nd, back out at the Vista Grande.
I think we've been doing that for, ever since I've been at the funeral.
Yeah, every year. It's great. I mean, it's outstanding. It's a great thing. Health fair for those 50 and over. So I would imagine you deal with a lot of those folks.
A few, yeah.
Yeah. Do you do much of the pre-need, or is it Mary takes care of all that?
Mary does most of it. She has a grandma. Mike and Mary are grandparents, so she takes care of a little, watching little Everett on, and not little anymore. He's probably 3 or 4 years old. I think that's on Tuesday. But she works about 3-4 days, but it gets a lot done in that period of time.
How important is pre-need?
Well, I think it's really important. One thing, knowing what somebody wants to do and what they want. Situations occur and no one knows what does mom want to do or what would dad want, and kind of this way it's set in stone on what they want, and I think it makes it easier for families because it's an awful time.
How did you get involved in the funeral business?
So, kind of wild story. My dad's family is from Jefferson, Iowa. They're just west of Ames by about 30 minutes or so. And my grandfather passed away when I was in first grade. And the funeral director there, Mr. Mark Rossau, a fine man, took good care of our family. And my great-grandmother died on the 21st of December in 1988. Her funeral was on Christmas Eve. And what impacted me on that, and at this point I was in fourth grade, but here it's Christmas Eve, and I'm sure at the Detterman house on Christmas Eve, if you're not at the radio station, but you're probably watching a football game, or you're watching, Christmas vacation,
life.
Right? You're not working, you're not thinking of it, you're just with your family. And I remember Mark coming to my grandma's house and dropping the flowers off like I do too, and you would have thought it was the 21st of September. He was in no hurry. Great guy, when we'd go back to Jefferson for Easter or something, Mark would be at church, and, Grandma just loved Mark, and I did too. And it's kind of cool today, I'm the Mark in this community where, as I tell my wife, if she ever kicks me out, I got about 15 ladies that would let me, 80-year-olds that would let me into the house. Pretty lucky to build those relationships, because it's really a relationship.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Building relationships and
appreciate being
people
here.
trusting you at a crappy time of their life, awful time of their life.
Home. Yeah, it is so true. I mean, it is based on they have a trust in what you are able to provide.
Absolutely nothing.
When I go, when I have the opportunity to go to like a health career day, like at the high school, I always walk in and pick out a student, and I'm like, hey, what kind of car do you have? I have a 2015 Honda Civic. Oh, okay. So let's, I would say Target or Walmart. Like, so say I ran into you at Walmart, and I said, hey, my car broke down. Can I have the keys to your car to borrow? And you'd probably look at me and be like, I'm not going to give you the keys to my car, I'm like, well, why not? Well, why would I don't know you, and cars are insurable, they're replaceable, people's loved ones aren't. And when someone calls, at all hours of the day, all hours of the night, when their loved one passes away, I mean, they're giving us the keys to their loved one. They're trusting us with precious cargo. And until you're in that position, I think people think it's joke around, and it's all fun and games until it happens. And when that time comes, you want to deal with someone you can trust and is going to do the great job for you.
What's it like to take a call like that?
Ooh, there's been a lot of bad ones. Just got to take the call and listen. I was always kind of trained, if you use your ears and less of your mouth, usually just listen and not ask too many questions, as far as don't get into the nitty-gritty.
I would imagine it's unexpected when a loved one does pass. Sometimes, there's an illness, you got an idea that it is going to be coming up. But when it is an accident to a younger person, that's got to be extremely tough.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're kind of dealing with one here locally coming up. So yeah, it's those aren't fun. But then you have the other ones that you have some people that will plan the funeral. Hey, mom's not on hospice. Can we have the funeral next Saturday? And it's like let's let things happen, and then we can do that. But it's wild how people will plan things before the person even passes too.
Talking to Ryan Veenstra, you're with Snell Zornig, and of course you've got Clinton and Comanche.
Yep.
What's it like to be able to be in both communities?
It's great. My wife, of course, is from Comanche. Went to school with your nieces down there.
Okay.
Yep. The class of 2000. I think.
Yes.
I think there were
5 Dettermans.
Were there? Yeah. I remember the graduation party at the Moose Club.
That's right. Yes.
In fact, I think so. That was 2000.
Yes.
Yeah. I turned 21 in April of that year.
Okay.
I think that was a good time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm sure Kyle, you were hanging out with Kyle there.
Yep.
We got Brad Seward coming on, another classmate of yours.
Yeah. So no, being part of both communities is awesome. What's really wild too is just the difference between the two communities. Really the viaduct between crosses the railroad tracks. Just how tight knit Comanches. Where Clinton has a couple different communities. You got the north end. You got the south end, and it's just kind of interesting how both we're so close, but yet we're kind of two different communities.
That is interesting. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, and I would say. In Comanche, everybody's pretty close there. Like visitations are probably better attended just because everybody knows everybody, and for the most part, pretty much everybody's related to people down there in Comanche, which is pretty cool. My wife's family, the Weisers. I mean, my father-in-law has 7 siblings, and most of them are still in the area. And then you got the Dettermans. You guys are, and you guys have kind of spread out. You got some Comanche and.
Yeah, we got a couple down there in Comanche.
And a lot of, it's interesting too how many, our Kyle and I's classmates of '97 have moved to Comanche and have kids going to school in Comanche.
How old are your kids?
So my daughter Olivia is 16, just turned 16 in December. So
have you got her a Honda Civic yet?
That's why I picked that one out. Yeah. So she was on the mom and dad 401 dad and mom plan, so it matched dollar for dollar. She raised herself $5,000, so we matched with $5 to buy that.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so she's driving, and of course we've got her first fender bender. So that's always that comes. She's the manager of the girls wrestling team.
Oh, okay.
And they're of course traveling this evening
to Solon.
For the regionals.
Yes.
And we have there's a handful of girls on that team that could qualify for state, so that's exciting. Coach Dylan Schneeberger, of course, what a stud.
Yeah, Dylan's doing a great job with that program. Are you talking about Clinton High now?
Yeah.
They're going out to Cedar Rapids.
Cedar Rapids, that's what I thought.
Comanche is at Solon.
Okay. I thought it was Cedar Rapids, but, I didn't want to challenge you on that.
No. I thought you were talking about Comanche.
No. So in Clinton, she's on the golf team. We're starting some golf lessons up with Josh Bousman at Legends. She was doing well. She was number 2 on the team last year. So she's excited about doing that. Just a good. She's doing well in school. We're proud of her. Yeah. And then my little guy Jack's a 5th grader. He'll be turning 11 on Super Bowl Sunday. So he's at Whittier last year at Whittier. Brian Kinney, good guy. But he enjoys baseball, golf, just messing around. So he's a good kid.
Super Bowl. Who do you like, Kansas City or Philadelphia? I forgot to get Sean's pick.
I mean, maybe he could call in.
Yeah. Who do you like?
I got to go Kansas City. Of course, dear friend Todd Wally. He was a Kansas City Chiefs fan before it was cool to be a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And, of course, Keith Rosh, he's a huge Chiefs fan as well.
There's a couple names out of the past. Todd Wally, I haven't heard that name forever.
Yeah, he's doing well. He's down in Deep River, Iowa, which is, south of I-80, kind of between, you know where Marengo is?
Yeah.
So just south of there.
Okay.
Yeah, and his wife, Monica. Monica used to manage, or still manages, and owns now, Bob's Your Uncle for the attorney in Iowa City, Randy. He just passed away. He represented Chris Street's huge basketball guy. He just died. Randy, I think it's Schultz or something, whatever. He owned Bob's Your Uncle. And she now has turned it into Monica's. It's an Italian restaurant there on Corville Drive. So that's Todd Wally's wife. Monica owns Monica's. So he's doing well. His parents, Bacher and Mary, you remember Bach, don't you? Yeah, they're up in Garner, Iowa, which is up there by Mason City. Good people.
I know where Garner, Iowa's at. So let's take a break for the weather. That'll be coming up right after this.
At Snell Zornig Funeral Homes and Crematory, we have found that part of the stress families feel when making funeral arrangements is the time pressure and being unfamiliar with the task. By making funeral arrangements in advance, there is no time pressure. Also, we find that family members appreciate knowing the wishes of their loved ones. This is Mary Rupp, Family Service Counselor at the Snell Zornig Funeral Homes and Crematory. For more information on pre-planning, give me a call at 242-0252. I can help.
It's now time on KROS for the Storm Track 8 weather forecast, brought to you by Electronic.
A weather impact alert continues for this morning. Dense fog and some heavy downpours will be likely. Then drying out for the afternoon and skies clearing. We'll see highs in the mid-40s today. For tonight, skies go mostly clear again and lows will drop to the chilly mid-20s. With your Storm Track 8 weather impact forecast, I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzky.
Currently, we have cloudy skies at a temperature of 39 degrees. Winds are out of the northeast at 20 miles an hour. This weather report on KROS has been brought to you by Electronics.
Electronics Incorporated in Clinton is the area's largest communication and alarm systems company. Electronics offers best-in-class life safety, security, two-way radios, and communications equipment from top brands. Electronics, the company you've trusted for over 50 years, can now provide fire extinguisher sales service and inspections, plus kitchen hood inspections as well. Call 563-242-1223 or visit them online at www.electronicsinc.com for your free estimate.
Well, he was listening and he did call in. We're going to get the Super Bowl pick right now from Sean. So who do you like, Mr. Connell?
Hey, I've always got my favorite radio station on.
I appreciate that.
I'm going to go with the Eagles. I'm going with my boy Cooper DeJean.
All right, very good. We got that for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Well, he went with Cooper DeJean, Ryan, and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, his BFF is Sokolovich. So Andy Sokolovich is a big Eagles fan, so he probably wants to make sure he
stays in good there.
Yeah, with Mr. Sokolovich.
So again, we talked a little bit about your decision to become a funeral director.
Yeah.
Talk about the education needed to do what you do.
Yeah, well, and a really fun fact, maybe you didn't know this, maybe you did. So I didn't really know. I always kind of wanted to be a funeral director, and when I was a junior, umpiring, and then I also worked for John Mulholland and Trees Forever, and I would work on those trees along the cemetery up at Oakland, and then also for the Parks Department and along by Clinton Lawn. And I'm like, I always want to be a funeral director. How do you do that? So I lose the student body presidency election to Angela Dixon, and my world was over. And Dennis Durling, I was kind of down in the dumps. He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what is something you've always wanted to do? And I'm like, well, I've always wanted to be a funeral director, but how do I become a funeral director? He's like, I know exactly who to call. So probably about 2 weeks before spring break of my senior year, I mean, I was already signed up to go to Iowa State, be roommates with Nate Livingston, which then your soon later son-in-law, Landon, was roommates freshman year at Iowa State with him. So I was ready to go to Iowa State, and so I go down, talk to Mr. Zornig, and he walked in his office. He was a big wild game hunter. He had deer and bears and antelope. I mean, it was wild. Listen, he's like, what are you doing over spring break? I'm like, well, nothing. He's like, why don't you come down and, there's always things to do. And I kind of recycle that line, there's always things to do, as I tell my daughter too, that helps clean. So I started spring break, actually enjoyed my time there for the weekend. Then the college kid that lived upstairs above the funeral home at that time got a job at Applebee's. So this is 97, just Applebee's was just opening. So there was an opening to go to college. So I talked it over with my parents. I'm like, this is what we could do. So in Iowa, you need 60 credit hours. So I went to junior college, worked at the funeral home. Then I went to mortuary school in Chicago. That's a 12-month September to September program straight through. Had the opportunity to work for an Italian funeral home there. Did about 1,200 calls, so it was huge. 4 different families owned it, one of them being the Daley family, the mayor of Chicago. So it was pretty interesting. Learned a lot of how the Italians took things, and it was pretty cool there. There was about 8 funeral directors there, and I was able to kind of pick up 8 different cool things or 8 things I wouldn't do from those people and bring. Really didn't plan on coming back to Clinton. I had an opportunity to stay there, and I would come back occasionally and help on the weekends back in Clinton. And I think Mr. Zornig was like, "Well, are you coming back?" And I'm like, no, I think I'm going to stay in Chicago. And he's like, "No, you're not." And I'm like, "Well," and he kind of gave me an offer that was too good to refuse, and came back. That would have been in September 2000. Had to pass my national board exam, which that was an 8-hour test. Did the old Scantron, fill in the bubbles. Today it's done online. I mean, right now if you passed or not. Back then, I think I took it on September 6th, 2000, and I think I didn't find out until like the beginning of October that I passed. So, I mean, that was a long, 4 weeks, and hit the ground running, since I was already kind of knew the system and knew the way. You had to have like my preceptor, in the room with me for like the first 5 or 10 arrangements and then preparations, and then I was kind of on my own. So yeah.
And why still Snell Zornig?
Why not?
Okay.
Yeah, why it's a brand, KROS, it's a brand, People in Clinton don't like change, which everybody's kind of used to the same thing, and I don't need my name on the sign.
Do people ever come in and ask for Mr. Snell or Mr. Zornig?
Bob Snell stories. I still hear Bob Snell stories. I mean, the guy was a classic. Oh. And I enjoyed looking over here at the wall of fame. Mr. Hank Dillman. He and Bob were buddies. They had seats together at the Lumber King games, and I enjoyed sitting with those guys. And then Hank's tickets at the Clinton High games, back when you had to kind of have a reserve seat, yeah. I always got to sit next to Hank because those were our tickets, and man, Hank Dillman, what a gentleman, like yourself. You guys are classics. Who's going to take over, Gary, We're
going to have to find another German. We got to go with Dillman, Detterman. We're going to have to come up with somebody else like that. But I've got a young man in mind.
Good. And I think like Bill Mashevitz always says, like, you're an art. You should be featured on that, Sunday morning CBS show, the coaches show.
Okay, now I'm starting to blush. Anyway, you got a song that you want to play for your dad.
Yeah, Mike Rupp, who was a DJ here, my dad at the Medical Associates Christmas party, he would always request this song, and Mike Rupp would say that this was a dance floor killer because everybody would. So he wouldn't play it towards the end, and I think everybody needs some good vibration and some good vibes on this cloudy day. Thanks for the invitation.
You've done a great job. You'll have to become a regular now on the program.
I have the invitations extended.
It will be, no doubt about that. Clinton High School, so much construction going on with the building. I know you were a big part of getting that bond referendum through, and now you see what's all taking place.
Yeah, it was probably one of my proudest accomplishments in the community. There was a good group of people that rallied behind that. Really think about maybe 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after that bond referendum passed, the pandemic kicked in, and just imagine what could have happened if that election was like in April, and I don't know. My goal was to get 80% of the vote. I think we got 76.8. Gary DeLacy would remind you of that. And then Bill Mashevitz, he's kind of the name of the day here. He asked me in one of those meetings, like, "Hey, we need you to help me on this Duke Slater thing," and what a cool project that has become, and we're getting that scholarship almost completely funded. We're We're about 15 to 20,000 away. I think we're going to be able to get that accomplished.
And that, speaking of accomplished, what that man was able to do in his life is incredible.
You know, it's really wild that he was kind of forgotten for decades. You know, even at the University of Iowa level.
Yeah.
You know, and just crazy.
Yeah, because I had actually somebody say to me, they didn't realize that Slater Hall was named after Duke Slater.
I had no idea either. It's wild, and that that biographer, he really, really did a good job of getting Duke's name. Neil Rosenthal, that's the name. His biographer. I mean, he's the driving force in him getting in the Hall of Fame. Getting that field named after him. I mean, a lot of credit goes to that Neil.
Yeah, and then he went into our original athletic Hall of Fame. It was so neat that I think it was his great niece who was able to be there for the induction.
Did you ever get up to Roosevelt and see where he carved his name in a brick?
No.
In one of the there was a Des Moines Des Moines TV station featured that. We'll do that. I want to do like a Duke Slater run tour and like go by Roosevelt, go by the Bethel Church, and then go all the way up to where like Ringwood Park would be, and do like the Duke. The Duke is what I call it.
Hey Ryan, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Take care.
And now from the KROS Newsroom, here is Sydney Ellen.
It's Friday, January 31st, and here are your local news headlines. Iowans with disabilities say that income and asset limits for Medicaid eligibility keep them from working as much as they would wish, and they've asked legislators to make some changes. Zach Meacham of Pleasantville says as a person with disabilities, he's had to choose between breathing and getting a full-time job.
The majority of Iowans with disabilities want to work, yet